Hi everyone and welcome back to part 22. So in this video we are going to talk about how we can basically log out our user, okay? And we are also going to discuss how to implement the forgot password and setting new password, okay? And there is one last thing that I also want to show you is how we can basically send HTML emails. So in the last video basically I showed you that we are getting this kind of reset password email, okay? Since I haven't basically shown you how we are basically sending this type of HTML email, so I'm going to explain you that in this video. So make sure you watch this video till the end to understand all of these, okay? And if you have any feedback or comment, please leave that, and please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So with that said, let's actually get started. So the first thing that we want to do here is to basically implement this functionality of logging out the user. Okay, because if you click on this logout button as of now, then you can see nothing is really going to happen. Okay, so what we can do here is we need to first of all go back to our front-end application. Okay, so as you can see, this is our front-end app which is running on port 3000. Okay, let me just close this terminal, and now what we want to do is we just want to implement this functionality of logging out. And for that, first of all, we would need to basically add this functionality on this sidebar, okay? Because this is where our logout button is getting rendered into this menu item, okay? As you can see in this profile menu, we have defined various options here, okay? Now what we basically want to do is when the index is 2, that means the value of this idx is 2, okay? And that is going to be for this logout button. So we just need to call dispatch here, okay? And as you might remember from the last video, we can just get this dispatch using use dispatch hook, which is going to come from React Redux library, okay? And inside it we'll have to pass a thunk action, okay? So we first need to basically create that inside our Redux folder. So you can navigate to this folder, then go inside slices, and we are going to create this logout thunk action inside this auth.js slice, okay? So let me add that here after this login thunk action that we created in the last video. So we just need to again create a function here, okay? So let's create that, and I'm going to call it logout user, okay? And again I'm going to return another function from inside it, okay, which is again going to be an asynchronous function. Then we are going to get this dispatch and get state here, okay, as an argument. Now after this, what we basically need to do here is just call this dispatch, okay, and then pass this reducer, which is sign out. And what this is going to do basically, it is going to take the current state, okay, then it will set the value of is logged into false, and it is also going to set the token to this empty string, okay? So that is fairly simple. So what we just need to do is write this slice dot actions and then sign out, okay? You just need to call it, and as you can see inside this reducer we are not going to basically make use of this action, okay, which is basically going to contain the payload. So that is why we are not passing anything to this sign out, okay? It is just empty. So now this is implemented, we can just go ahead inside the sidebar js, okay, then call this logout user here, okay? As you can see, it is going to be imported from redux slash slices slash auth, okay? So just import that here, okay, and call it. Now the last thing that is remaining here is this dispatch, okay? So let me just get it here quickly, okay? So you can just write const dispatch is equal to use dispatch. We have seen this many times, okay? And this use dispatch is going to come from React Redux, as you can see here in this auto imported statement, okay? Now after saving this, let's actually go back to our app and see if this functionality is running properly or not, okay? And before even doing that, I just want to correct one thing. We haven't basically checked if the index is 2 or not. So I'm going to place this condition here, okay, and say if index is 2, okay, and I'm checking for the strict equality because this is going to be an integer, okay? So that is why I'm comparing its type and the value, okay? Now I'm just going to format this document, okay? Then let's go back to our app and check if it's working or not. So now let's actually click on this logout button, and as you can see nothing happened. Okay, we are again at this slash app endpoint, and if you open up this store, okay, then also these values are totally unchanged. So let's actually explore why that is happening. Okay, so if you go back to this sidebar.js file and look at it closely, then you can see that we have these two on click handlers here. The first one is on this menu item, okay, and the second one is on the stack, which is basically wrapping up the title along with this icon. Okay, and if you look at this second on click handler, then you can see we are basically calling this navigate function, okay, and getting the required path. We have discussed this in a previous video. Okay, and then the result of clicking on each of these menu items is that it is going to redirect the user to some endpoint. Okay, and I don't want that to happen if the index is 2. Okay, so we are just going to cut this logic from there. Okay, and then we'll implement it here like this. So we'll say if index is 2, then we just want to dispatch logout user thunk action, otherwise we'll call this navigate function here. Okay, let me also cut this comment from here. Okay, and I'm going to place it here. So again save it. Okay, and go back to your app and let's try that again. Before that, I'm going to just refresh my app. Okay, so now let's again try this, and this time when we clicked on logout button, as you can see the user is logged out of the application. And if you go to your Redux store and check these values, then you can see that the value of is logged in has transitioned from true to false, and the token is basically empty now. And if you click on this div tab, then you can see what was the change that just happened. Okay, and as you can see this sign out thunk action was called. Okay, so you can just replay that here again. Okay, and see what just happened. Okay, as you can see the changes also getting reflected on your screen. Okay, so that is basically the power of Redux tab tools. Okay, it is very powerful tool if you know how to utilize it properly. Okay, and if you are curious about that, let me know that in comment. I'll be discussing that in a separate video. So now we are done with the logout functionality. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is close all of my open editors. Okay, then I'm also going to collapse all of these open folders and files. Let's now again start fresh. Okay, so first of all I would like to show you this forgot password page. Okay, so now we are going to implement this functionality that when a user enters their email address, okay, and that email address must be available inside our database. Okay, if that's a valid user, then we are going to basically send them a link via email to reset their password. Okay, and so let's actually work on this. Okay, then we'll talk about how we are basically going to reset the user's password. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do here is again go back to this pages folder. Okay, then switch to this auth folder. Okay, because we just want to access this reset password. So now when the user forgets their password, then they will be coming to this screen. Okay, and the form that they are going to fill is basically this component reset password form. Okay, so as you can see here, we are just going to collect the user's email. Okay, and we'll send that to our backend. So we need to do that here in this try block. Okay, so let's actually do that quickly. And before that, as you might basically guess, we are again going to dispatch some kind of thunk action from here. Okay, so for that we again need to go inside our Redux folder. Okay, then slices and auth.js. Here we'll be creating another thunk action, and this time I'm going to call it forgot password. Okay, so let's write it quickly, forgot password like this. Okay, and again it's going to be a higher order function. Okay, returning another function which is asynchronous in nature. Similarly we'll be getting these two arguments, dispatch and get state here. Okay, now what we need to do here is basically we need to again call some endpoint from our backend. Okay, so let me show it to you. If you visit our server, okay, then you can see here we have an endpoint which is basically called slash forgot password. Okay, so we just need to call this one. Okay, and this controller which is forgot password is going to run, and this is just expecting one thing from the request body, and that is the user's email. Okay, and after that all of this logic is basically going to run. Okay, so let's now do that here. So as you can see from this login action that we have created here, we are just making use of this Axios, and also here the nature of the call is again going to be post. Okay, the method is going to be post, so it's going to be pretty much similar. Okay, so let's actually implement that quickly. So I'm just going to write here await. Okay, then Axios dot post, like this. Okay, and then we need to pass the path. Since the base URL is already set it up when we created the Axios instance in the last video, so we just need to provide the rest of the path, which is /auth /forgot password. Okay, and please make sure that you don't make any typo here. Okay, otherwise you are going to get an error from our API call, which will be 404. That means the path is not found. And similarly we are going to get this form values, which is basically going to be an object. Again we are going to get this form values, okay, as an argument, which is basically going to be an object containing the user's email. Okay, and we also need to set headers here. Okay, so let's do that. Headers, and here again this is not a protected route, we are just going to set up this content type. Okay, and the value for this is basically going to be application/json. Okay, like this. Now again we can just chain on then and catch. Okay, in order to get the response in case of success and failure API call. Okay, let me do that here. Dot then and then dot catch, like this. We are just going to pass this callback here. Okay, and we can just get this error. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is, in case of any error, I'm just going to log that to the console. Okay, and in case there is a success response, okay, then again I'm just going to log that to the console. Okay, so here we'll be basically getting response. Okay, let me correct that, and I'm just going to log that to the console, like this. Okay, so I'm just going to again use this forgot password now inside this reset password form. So here we can just simply write dispatch. Okay, and then forgot password. Again you can see it is going to be imported from Redux /slices/auth. Okay, so I have auto imported that. Okay, now as you might remember, we need to pass something which is going to be accessed here with this name of form values. And as I told you, this needs to be in this form. This data is going to be like this. It's going to be an object which is going to contain this property email, and it is going to have a valid email. Okay, so that is why we are passing that here. For this dispatch we can simply get it again using use dispatch. Okay, like this. Use dispatch is going to be imported from React Redux, as you can see here. Now after saving this, okay, if you go back here, and now if I'm going to just enter some random email here. Okay, let's say 123@gmail.com, and let me tell you that this email doesn't really exist on our backend. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up this inspector and then switch to this console tab. Okay, so that we can see what response we are getting back from our API. Okay, so let me just write 123@gmail.com and then send this request. Okay, so as you can see we are getting this. Okay, which is basically returning us this 404. Okay, that means this was not found. Okay, we just basically want to say that this email was not found. As you can see inside this data that we are getting in our response object, we have this message for the user, which is there is no user with the email address given. Okay, and the status of this API call is error. Okay, that means it was not successful. Let's now try that again, but this time with a valid email which is basically registered, okay, in our database. So this time I'm going to use this coding monk 22, which I have made. Okay, just a test email for this course. Now I'm going to send this request again, and let's see what we get this time. So as you can see here, we are getting this status of 200. Okay, that means our call was successful, and it's saying here inside this message that token is sent to email, and the status of this API call is success. Let's now actually visit our email. Okay, so here I have this email open up. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, we just received this email at 2:40 p.m. Okay, and if you want to see the time, it's just 2:40 p.m. while I'm recording this video. So we just received this email 0 minutes ago, and I'm also going to discuss how we are basically able to send this kind of email. Okay, so the main thing here to focus on right now is we just need to click on this reset password button. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this link from here. Okay, then I'll be basically doing it inside the same browser. So let me just paste that here. Okay, and now you can see what that link basically does. It took us to this localhost 3000 slash auth slash new password, which is basically a page inside our application. And apart from that, there is also this parameter here in our search. Okay, have this, which is basically with this name of token. Okay, and we are going to basically submit this back to our backend. Okay, and which is basically containing the user's information. Okay, so let's now do this, and for that we have to work on this new page which is called reset password. Okay, so again back to our application here inside this pages directory, and then auth, you can see we have this component which is called new password. Okay, and inside this new password we have this form called new password form. So we just need to pull that up. Okay, and here inside this on submit method we are again going to dispatch a thunk action which is going to make an API call on our behalf. Okay, so let's see how we are going to do that. So the first thing that we can do, okay, is to basically get this dispatch from use dispatch. Okay, so we have created this dispatch using this use dispatch hook from React Redux. Okay, and now we can basically make use of it inside this try block, inside this try block on submit function. So I'm just going to call it here like this. Okay, then inside this we need to pass a thunk action. Okay, so again I'm going to go back to my auth.js slice. Okay, and then here I'll be creating another thunk action. This time I'm going to call it reset password. Okay, or let's actually call it based on the page. So I'm going to call it new password. And as you can see, again we are going to fill up some form on our UI which is basically going to ask the user to provide their new password and also confirm that password. Okay, so for that purpose I'm going to write this form values again here, because we'll be getting those two values as an argument here. Okay, and after that again we are going to return this asynchronous function. Here we can basically start implementing the logic. Before that, let me also complete this by writing dispatch and get state here. Okay, now we can just write await. Okay, then this axios, then again we are going to make a post API call. And why is that? Let me again show it to you that we have this endpoint here which is called reset password. Okay, and if I go to its definition, that means its body, then you can see here we are basically going to take the token from the user's request body. Okay, the request that we are going to get from our client, and then based on that we'll process the user's request. Okay, and we'll also be using these two other properties which are going to be known as password and password confirm. We need to make sure that we are passing these values with the same key name. Okay, now after this is done, okay, after I am done explaining that to you, let me actually come back here and I'll again write the path here which is auth slash reset password. Okay, you can just find it here inside this routes then auth.js file. Okay, this reset password. Now the next thing here is to basically provide the body. Okay, so again I'm going to give that form values here. Okay, and after that again doing the same thing, setting the headers. This time as well this API call is not protected. Okay, so that is why we are just going to pass this one header. that is content type, and I'm going to set its value to application slash JSON like this. Okay, and as we have done here, again we'll be getting this then and catch block. Okay, so this is going to give us what the response is. Okay, and what is the error in case some error happens. Let's actually use that new password here. Okay, so I'm just going to write it here like this, and please remember that you get it from the redux slash slices slash auth. Okay, it has to be imported from there, otherwise you might also accidentally import the page here. Okay, and that is going to basically throw an error, so please make sure you pay attention to that. And there is one last thing that I just want to highlight here. Okay, as I just mentioned, we are expecting few things here, and that is this token inside the body. Okay, and then these two other values, password and password confirm. So here we have these things with this name of new password and confirm password. So I'm just going to make it exactly same here. Okay, as you can see, we need it with the name of password, so I'm going to just change new password to password. Okay, and then confirm password everywhere inside this file, confirm password to password confirm. Okay, and you can just simply do that here. Okay, by let me actually show you. Just select one thing. Okay, then click on command D in Mac OS. Okay, and control D in case of Windows, all of those values in one go, and just edit them. Okay, let me also make sure that we have changed the name here inside this field. So here we have this new password. Okay, it's left here, so I'm just going to change it to password. Okay, and then here we have password confirm. Okay, so now this is fine, you can just pass that here. Okay, but there is one thing that we need to again fix here, and that is we are not going to get token inside this data. Okay, this data is only going to return whatever we have inside our forms schema, that is password and password confirm. So let's actually spread those values here. Okay, like this, and then as a third value we can just add token here. Okay, and now the question remains how we are going to access that token which is present inside this search param. Okay, here, so for that we can basically make use of this use search params hook. Okay, which is going to come from react router dom. Okay, so let me write that here. Okay, const. Okay, then you can just get it like this, query parameters is equal to use search params. Okay, so this is going to be imported this use search params from react router dom. Okay, you can just search for it. Okay, so as you can see we have it from this react router dom, this use search params. Okay, now it is very easy to get the token here. Okay, so we are just going to make use of this query parameters. Okay, like this, just use it and then call this get method here and pass the name of the query parameter that you want to access, and that is token. Okay, so now this is done. Okay, we have completed the flow. Let's just save it. Okay, then go back to our application. And now if I just give it a new password, let's say I am giving it a new password, I'm also going to show it to you, 098765. Okay, just few numbers in reverse order. Okay, 098765. When we click on the submit button, okay, so let's see what we are getting. So as you can see, our API call has failed with this status code of 400, that means bad request. And let's actually inspect what went wrong. So if you open up this response object, okay, and check this data, then you can see we have this message coming from our API which is basically telling us that token is invalid or it is expired. So by invalid we mean that the user has basically altered this token that we have sent. Okay, or in case of expired, it means that this was valid only for 10 minutes and the user is basically trying to reset their password using this token after that 10-minute window has expired. Okay, so as you can see, our logic that we have implemented on our server, okay, for this expiry time is working pretty well. Okay, so what I'm going to do again, I'm going to basically request another reset token. Okay, so for that I'm just going to again send this request with my email, which is codingmonk22@gmail.com. Okay, after I have sent this request, you can see on our server we have this response code of 200. That means the email was sent successfully. So now you can see here I have a new email. Okay, and if I click on show, then you can see again I'm just going to copy on this. Again I'm going to just copy the link that we are getting. Okay, then again I'm going to paste that in my browser. Okay, and it is going to take us to this auth/new password page along with this new token. Okay, this time around I'm going to just choose a new password. Okay, and it's going to be just 4567890. Okay, 4567890. Then I'm going to submit it. Before that, let me also pull up the inspector here. Okay, then switch to this console again. Please just ignore all of this. Okay, this is just some warning message from the React. Okay, so I'm just going to check this from errors to info only. Okay, let's just remove these errors. Okay, for now. And now if I just click on this submit button, okay, then you can see in the response we are getting this 200. Okay, that means you can see here we have this data which is basically saying that password resetted successfully, and we have this new token which is basically the new JWT token. That means we need to basically dispatch some kind of reducer here inside this auth.js action that we have created. Okay, let me revisit that. So here we need to dispatch some kind of reducer which is going to basically set the user's status to is logged in, and also set the user's new token inside our store. Okay, so let's actually get that done quickly. Okay, so for that we just need to call dispatch here. Okay, and inside this I'm going to again make use of slices action that we have created. Okay, so slice dot actions and then this login. Okay, like this. And here we need to basically pass some payload. Okay, and as you can see inside this login reducer at the top, we need to pass this is logged in property and token, just like we did in our login thunk action. Okay, so that is going to be repeated here, so I'm just going to copy it from the login. Okay, so here we have this login user, and this is logged in true and this token. Okay, so let's do that same here inside this new password. Okay, like this. So now after we have done this, let's actually test it out. Okay, so here we again need to go to this forgot password. Okay, then request a new token for resetting our password, just sending the request. Okay, then go back to our email and check if we received a new email or not. Okay, so just now the email landed here in my inbox, and I'm just going to pull it up like this. Again going to copy this link. Okay, then pasting it in my browser. Let's actually fill up our new password quickly. Okay, so this time it's going to be ASDFGH. Okay, again I need to write the same thing here. Let's also test what happens if these two values don't match up. Okay, so here I'm entering something different, and now if I click on the submit button, then you must see this kind of message which is saying password must match. So this is the validation that we have implemented on our front end. Okay, so that means our logic is working pretty well. Okay, so let's actually set it to the correct value, that is going to be ASDFGH. And then when I click on submit, then you can see our user is immediately logged into our application. Okay, so that means our password has been resetted successfully. And now if I just log out of this application, okay, and then I'm going to just try out something different which is not the correct password. So 123456, and let's see if our password was actually resetted or not. So now if I click on login, okay, then I'll have to just pull up the console again. So let's open up this inspector tool and then switch to console. Okay, so here you can see we are getting this Axios error, which is basically what it's saying. Let's actually check that response here. So if you open up this data, then you can see this message, email or password is incorrect. Okay, so that is because we have entered the wrong password here. So again, I'm going to just change it to the value that we just set it up. Okay, ASDFGH. Then now if I click on this login button, then you can see our user is immediately logged into our application. That means everything is working fine. Okay, end to end. There is just one last thing, okay, that I just want to highlight here, that we have to check this status and message again and again inside this console, and that is not ideal. Okay, users must see that kind of message here. Okay, and we are going to implement a snack bar for that. So that we are going to do that in our next video. Okay, but before that, let me just tell you how we are able to send these HTML emails here. Okay, so for this I am using this tool which is basically called Unlayer. Okay, you can just visit this website unlayer.com. Okay, so this is just one of the site which is going to enable you to create your own drag and drop emails. Okay, and then the main thing that we have to focus here is that we need HTML for this email. Okay, so you can visualize it like you have created a new HTML page. Okay, and you can send that HTML page as your email's body. Okay, so here I am basically having this drag and drop email designer. You can also use that. Okay, I'll recommend that. And this video is not sponsored by Unlayer. Okay, I'm just using it because I like this tool. So after designing my email, I just copy this HTML that I get from here. Okay, then in our server directory, here you can find this templates, and inside that we have this mail. So if you open up, then you can see we have this reset password JS, which is basically simply what it's doing. It's a function, okay, which is exported from here. It's taking two arguments, name and link, and it's returning this big block of HTML. Okay, as you can see, and we are just basically using this template string here. Okay, and then using this name and link to customize our emails. Okay, so here you can see I have inserted this parameter hello $name. That means this name is going to be variable. Okay, and similarly we have this link again. Okay, which is again a variable here. Let me again show it to you. So you can see we have this link here. That is why we are able to copy that after clicking on this button. Okay, so once we have this kind of email, we can just use it inside. Okay, this logic of sending the email here. So if you click on this reset password and go to this line where we are basically sending the emails. Okay, or basically this forgot password actually. Okay, because we are sending the email in the first step of resetting the password. So after we have created this reset URL, we are just calling this mail service dot send email. This is what I have shown you in a previous video, and here you can see we have this HTML. Okay, and the value for that is just we are calling the reset password function that we created, which is basically going to take these two arguments and return a block of HTML. Okay, or a string simply, and that is going to be received by SendGrid. Okay, and that is why we are receiving this kind of emails. So I hope that is very clear to you. Okay, if you have any questions, okay, or comments, please make sure to leave that. Okay, I'll be reading all of your comments, and also make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you haven't actually joined our Discord server yet, then you can do so. We have so many members over there, and that community is actually quite active. So if you have any doubts, okay, or you want to just discuss something, please make sure you join that. Okay, I'll be also responding there. Thanks for watching this.